So I want to talk to you about analyzing gold markets and talk to you about how to actually analyze gold markets. I think that this is a really interesting topic. But before I get into this, I want you to go look at all of the other videos that are in YouTube right now. I want you to see an interesting trend. And I want you to sort of look for how do you buy and sell gold? How do you make money from gold? And just look at all of the people that are talking about this. They're normally going to be extremely young, and as well as predominantly male and often, of a certain skin tone. And it's really interesting when you start looking at this, of what's actually happening. So I want to talk about that in terms of, what is going on. So first of all, if you don't know who I am Professor Dave Maslach. I'm an associate professor of innovation strategy and entrepreneurship. And I created this whole reciprocity project to give back as much as I possibly can. There's so many people that help me out that I wanted to pay the favor for to help you out. I'm at a major university. I've got a chemical engineering degree from my undergrad. I have a master's degree in management science. And I also have a PhD in strategy and innovation. I was really close to double majoring in finance. So it's just one course short, double majoring in my PhD in finance. So, what is going on here? What is this? Is if you're going to analyze gold markets, it often is, the one thing I wanted to point out is that nobody in academia that I know of, that I've ever bumped into, I'm assuming that there might be one or two people, actually does this. And I want you to think about this, right? We've got a bunch of people that are generally at the top of their class, right? So they would have been top of class at Harvard and Wharton and, Stanford, all these kind of like fancy highfalutin schools, going in, becoming professors and stuff. And nobody analyzes this kind of stuff. I don't know of a single person. I know a lot of people at this point in the field broadly. I just don't bump into people doing this kind of stuff. So what is going on here? And why are you thinking about analyzing gold markets? The trick is that, there is no inherent value in gold. It's some form of currency, or people thinking that they are going to make a lot of money from gold. So what I would recommend, and if you're doing any sort of investing, is first of all, I would not recommend a single, specific thing to invest in. By the way, this is not financial advice, all that kind of stuff. I would not recommend any sort of like specific thing to invest in. That's actually not wise investing. And the people that have had the largest impact out of the University of Chicago, in terms of understanding how to invest in different things, would never say that either, right? So they would say to invest broadly and within things that have inherent value, right? So that are actually valuable. So what's inherent value in this world? What actually drives value? How do we know what's actually doing, actually creating value? So static things, physical assets, right? Like gold and chairs and, actual machinery, all of those kind of things. Well, machinery is kind of weird, but all of those kind of things like rocks and lakes and stuff, those don't have any sort of inherent value beyond what we imagine them to be, right? So the key thing is to think about, how are people imagining the treatment of this stuff around us, to imagine what the possibilities are. Now, if we can imagine things that are really cool and amazing, and we can develop something from that, right? So that's the two combinations. We have to imagine the world around us and imagine these particular things, but then as well combine those things to create something that's really cool and interesting, that provides a lot of value for everybody around us. Then those things have some sort of value behind them, right? So the key thing, if you haven't sort of noticed, it's what people are actually doing, right? So the key thing is, are there people involved that are actually transforming something from some sort of input, some raw material, into some sort of output? So gold doesn't have that, right? Like we don't necessarily have, the same sort of properties there in terms of, because it's a commodity, it's a raw material. Now it's a commodity that lots of people sort of value. And so the price of that is pretty high, right? Like we all think that there's some inherent value in gold, so the price of it is really high. Now the problem with that, if we just believe that there's value there simply because it's gold, that means it's going to fluctuate a lot. And over the long run, it doesn't necessarily, pan out as a good investment. It doesn't sort of have that long run climb over time, right? So what actually does have long run investment potential that is actually providing inherent value? Well, solving really big problems that we have in this world, right? It's things that, wait a minute, if this one thing actually solves some critical problem for us, either giving us some sort of entertainment or pleasure, or, solves a need, solves climate change or whatever, right? Like something really big, then that's going to have a lot of value because everybody sort of sees what they're doing and they can transform it into something else. So generally those tend to be companies. They tend to, maybe it is kind of a location, for example. Municipal location of some sort, or something that revolves around people that are actually converting something into actual value. So that's what I tend to look for, and that's why I would tend to encourage anybody to invest in, is to look for things that actually have value. Now, here's the other trick. I would never say to invest in a specific company or a specific entity, because frankly, I just don't trust them. I don't trust people that much. So even if it's Walmart, I just don't trust them, right? Like 100,000 people that work there. I don't know what their numbers are, but it's huge now, right? I just don't trust that group of people. I just don't have that belief that they're capable of doing that, right? Like that is a really strong belief. That's what you're believing when you're believing that the stock is going to go up or down, right? Like you are believing that either that they have some inherent value. Walmart, this large company, is doing something really amazing, or they're not doing something amazing, right? So you're betting on it going down as well, or betting on it going up. You could do both of those. And I just don't have any faith in anybody. I truly don't. I think a lot of people are, you really have to sort of look at human behavior, right? Like there's a lot of cheaters out there. There's lots of like slimy people, and they come in all sorts of different areas, right? And we can't, and I'm not knocking Walmart, by the way. We can't believe what other people are going to do and what is going on behind the scenes, right? We really just don't know. So because of that, what I'm going to do is have faith in something else, something that's bigger. So I'm going to have faith in, maybe it's a group, a massive group of people, a massive group of companies that come together, and that we can pick all of those specific companies, right? And that's called an index fund. And that index fund is really just betting on either, the American economy, whatever country that you're in, right? The Irish economy or whatever, but you're just betting on the global economy, everybody kind of coming together and sort of sorting these things out. By the way, every individual company that's out there, most of them are not country specific. If you didn't know that, they are, most companies are global at this point. So it's a giant myth. Like if you start analyzing companies, like, wait a minute, like this stuff is crap. About being within the country or out of the country, whatever. So what I want you to think about is like, how can I invest broadly to have faith in something like it would be hard pressed for me to imagine that over the next 20 to 30 years that the world to implode on itself. So that's the only way that you would sort of bet on like things going down, is that the world would implode on itself. Yes, we've got major wars and all those kind of things, but we've had those before. We've, have pollution problems, all these kind of things. Yes, but People are pretty smart to sort through these things. I don't know what the possibilities are, but we really haven't applied enough resources to solve these things. And when it gets to the point where people are really, really suffering on Earth and we're getting close to it, then we're going to start seeing a large amount of investment that's going on in those particular scary areas. So, what we have to sort of imagine is that there is long-run potential in things going up. In general, like everything going up, but I can't figure out, I'm just not that smart. I've got degrees coming out of, from everywhere. It's just like a lot of degrees, a lot of papers, all that kind of stuff. I'm just not that smart. And neither is anybody else. People are just not that smart. We're not that clever. There is just a lot more that goes on behind the scenes that's hard to sort of pick. So I don't like to bet in any sort of way like that. So I'll just be like, okay, I'll just do this kind of broad-based investment, because that's what I know actually works. And the evidence overwhelmingly across the board, that's what the evidence suggests, is just pick very broad index funds or, very broad mutual funds. In general, there's been a lot of research on this. It's almost like a law at this point within finance or within, the business world. Just invest broadly. We're just not that good. We're not that smart individually. But we can sort of pick that there's things going to go up over in the long run. And that's what I like to do. So, for coming back to investing in gold, how do you invest and analyze gold? I don't care, right? I don't care about individual stocks. I could not care less whether Walmart, and I own parts of Walmart, I know that. Couldn't care less if Walmart is going to go bankrupt next week. I don't care. I don't care if Tesla's going to go bankrupt. That's like not even in any of, I don't care. None of that stuff. It doesn't matter to me. Let them go bankrupt. But what I'm concerned about is just long run trends over time. And I never look at individual stock prices. In fact, I think all of that stuff, charting and all that kind of stuff, is a bunch of mumbo jumbo stuff that really doesn't really give you a good picture. You have to look at those long run trends over time. And that's what you're looking at. You're not looking at the ups and downs and all that kind of stuff. That's nonsense. And you're just going to get tripped up because we're not that smart. We can't analyze that. We're not fast enough. Now, if you have massive supercomputers, you could theoretically outsmart the market, but that's going to require you to have a lot of money and a lot of resources that we as individual investors just don't have. And by the way, so coming back to this idea of, looking at those people that are selling to you on YouTube about these kind of investment tricks and stuff, do you think that somebody, I want you to sort of look at, like, do they have degrees in these areas? Are they sort of, valid in the academic world? Because that's really like a large company. Like if you were to ask Apple, where would they go? And who would they talk to? They'd probably go talk to a professor in this area in terms of how to do this. Because we know it works. So, I want you to sort of think about that. They're selling to you. They're selling some sort of capability to you. They're, they are selling to that dream of who you are and what you're about. So just be careful in what's going on. And I would really, really think about what you're actually doing at this moment, because there's lots of other people that are chasing to do the same thing. And whenever you see those chasing kind of markets, where there's lots of people that sort of look similar, that act similarly, that means that there's a lot of, it's called the gold rush, right? Basically, there's a lot of people doing the same thing, and you're going to get burnt in the long run. So I very much caution you from doing that. I would invite you to go talk to a real investment professional on how to manage any extra money that you have. So if you've got $1,000, that's amazing. I think that you should be congratulated on that. That's an amazing feat. But what I want you to do instead is go talk to a legitimate financial planner, go talk to somebody that has a long track record of dealing with really amazing people, and then see what they're going to get you to do. There's no tricks out there. There's none. There's none of this fancy guru stuff. All of those people that do that kind of stuff, day trading and fancy guru stuff, the vast majority, I'm talking almost everybody, does get hurt when they go into that kind of stuff. So just don't do it. I don't do it. I'm too smart. And I know a lot of this kind of stuff. Like, I'm too smart to realize that I'm not smart enough. If that's what I'm saying when I say I'm too smart. I realize I'm not smart enough. I'm not capable enough to be able to outsmart the market in any sort of way. So just don't do it. You're going to get yourself hurt. That's my 2 cents. And hopefully this helped you out with figuring out how to do gold markets. All right. And my answer, don't do it. All right. Take care and have a wonderful day. Bye.